SCC! The crew unveil a stunning new card ladder feature. Then they discuss the pains of collecting an active player. Ooh, all this and more right now in SCC.
Welcome to episode 25 of Sports Cards Culture. My name is Chris, Instagram, Chris_HOJ. Here with Josh at cardboard_Chronicles, Kristina, Kristina's PC, and Nick, Stiff Arm Wax. All right, lots to cover today. First up, let's talk about one of the new card ladder features, multiple collections. By the time this episode airs, you will have already heard about this new feature, which is the ability of users to add multiple collections in card ladder. So let me bring in Josh to help break this down. Josh, first of all, what does it mean that card ladder users can now create multiple collections?
Well, in the collections tab right now, you'll notice that we show just one collection at a time. So if you're browsing the app and you want to add something to your collection, it just adds it to the collection, right? You just have this concept of a single collection. Now, if you head over to the collection page, in the place where it shows the title of your collection, there'll be a little drop down, and there's now an option to add a new collection. So you can now separate your collection feature into multiple sub-collections. So lots of great usages there, which we'll get into, but very easy to use and get to, and hopefully everyone can discover this, while they're using the app. And then while you're adding a card and you're browsing other parts of the app and you go to add a card to your collection, you'll see a drop down to pick which one you want to add it to, which is very helpful.
Excellent. And what was the impetus for creating this feature and adding it to card ladder?
Customers wanted it. I wasn't super big on the idea because, personally I didn't see the need to have multiple. I just thought you could manage it in one. But, after talking to a lot of customers and people came up with really good use cases, which I hadn't thought of, which was great. And so, my favorite thing as a product developer, software developer, is to listen to customers and whatever they want. We gotta listen to our customers. And so we heard from enough people here that this was, the next priority.
Voices will be heard. Guys, thank you for the great suggestions. Josh and team did a great job building it. Kristina,
yes.
Some collectors have mentioned that it could be fun to create an extra collection in card ladder using this new feature as a way to practice investing in sports cards. So for example, a user could allocate 10,000 fictitious Monopoly dollars across cards that are in card ladder's database, and then track the performance of those investments over 3 months, 6 months, a year, whatever. What do you think about that idea? You going to be cracking out any fictitious hypothetical collections and test your investment mettle?
I don't know. Are Chris and Josh going to give me time to do something like that and play around in the app and not work? Okay.
No.
I won't, but I will be talking to customers who will. And I know that we have a lot of members who have great ideas for how to use this. And I can't wait to see what they come up with and hear their feedback.
What about a competition?
I personally have totally wanted a way to compete, for our members to compete against each other, kind of like a fantasy football, but like ladder bucks, where like you have $10,000 and you create a collection, and then we have a competition where potentially you could win prizes for having the best results.
I love the idea of this competition, because when we only had one collection, it's only for your collection, your real collection. You don't want to waste it, on a fictitious one. Now that you have multiple, right now we have it capped at 3, but we can expand that based on usage and see how it goes. But you got one for the other idea obviously is like one for PC, one for flipping or investing or whatever. Like you kind of want to separate those out, because I know personally for myself, I might use it just for that, because stuff that's locked up, my grails or whatever. You could have one for grails and one for low end. You could maybe separate it that way. There might be something for, you might have one that you want to track for like insurance or tax purposes that you want to be able to export separately, that your accountant said like, hey, these need to be tracked separately, something like that. But I love having the idea of saving that third one for this competition that you guys just came up with. I love this idea, because it's like, take 10,000 fictitious dollars and you buy, or you buy $10,000 worth of cards in Card Ladder, and then we track it after a month and see. That's such a good idea, because it would just work so well. It would be automated. I could just run a little thing to see who had the most based on their entry, and you have to like name your collection a certain way so that I can see it or something.
Okay, well, perhaps
That
the
sounds
seed
awesome.
has been planted here. Okay,
Perhaps by the time this comes out and everyone tells us they want to do this, we will put some rules in place and launch a competition
great. All right.
for our ladder members.
Moving on. Coming up next on Sports Cards Culture, the pains of collecting an active player. My crab face.
Imagine everything you love about the hobby in the palm of your hand. An entire store at your fingertips. Everything you need to know about cards is within your grasp. Unlock the secrets of the hobby. Plus, so much more. You don't have to imagine anymore. It's here. Card Ladder. Get the app today.
You're watching SCC, Sports Cards Culture. Keep up with the crew and follow them on all the socials. Plus, join Josh and Chris and sometimes special guest Kristina every Friday night on Instagram Live. The Crossover.
Let's talk about the topic of the day in this household, and probably many others. The pains of collecting an active player. So today, the Dallas Mavericks were eliminated from the playoffs after a grueling roller coaster ride of a 7-game series. Also last week, the Los Angeles Lakers were knocked out. For Kristina and I, that means no more watching Luka competing in the NBA for probably 4 months until the start of next season. Although we probably will get to watch him compete for Team Slovenia this summer, a small consolation, no doubt. And for Josh, that probably means no more watching LeBron for the same amount of time, although he will be able to watch LeBron compete with the Toon Squad in Space Jam 2. Kristina, let me start with you.
Yeah,
Collecting is supposed to be fun.
supposed to be.
Sports fandom is supposed to be fun.
Supposed to be.
And when things are going well and your team is winning,
It's great.
but at some point expectations are bound to be disappointed and we will be let down. It is inevitable. It's an inevitable part of the sports experience. No one is immune from it. I'm not looking for you to give advice here, but just explain to all the collectors out there, new and established, what is it like to have collected and rooted for a player and a team for several years now, and then ultimately see them come up short today?
It's not fun. I mean, I was pretty down in the
Kristina went and took a 4-hour nap immediately after the game.
I did. Yeah. I took a depressed nap.
I forgot what you said exactly, but like you like had a little sassy comment as you got up and walked out of the room. And
I
was
usually do.
True. Kristina was not pleased with the outcome of that game. But anyway, go on.
Yeah, no, it's disappointing, right? It's not like I played on the team. I was a couch spectator.
A couch tater.
A couch tater. It had nothing to do with me. I mean, I was just, you gotta just pull yourself up and brush yourself off and say, we'll get him next year and move on with your life.
Your PC player, Josh, is in a special category. LeBron is still competing at the highest level, remains a perennial title contender, but he also has 18 years of NBA greatness already logged in the record books. Still, it surely brings a lot of joy watching him add to his legacy each season, and conversely, I expect it was not pleasant to see the Lakers season end prematurely. What has it been like to follow and collect LeBron James in this NBA season?
Well, my expectation of him is slowly going down over time, just because I'm realistic in that he's getting older and like the injury stuff, and just the team didn't gel this year. So I didn't have super high expectations going into this year. The problem for me is just that everyone else gives these crazy expectations for every player, not just LeBron. Like, you guys probably get the same thing where, like, it's either championship or bust. And, you know, when you lose, your player gets treated a certain way on the internet, you know, whether they deserve it or not. There's going to be someone out there that just flames the player no matter what, and LeBron definitely gets his fair share, probably more than most. That's the hard part for me, is just like reading people hate on them, and it's really hard because you know, my expectation is different. And so I also feel for you, Kristina, because I know how Chris is when his team loses. He's way too pragmatic about it, and after my team loses, I just want to be an annoying like complainer and just like let me complain. And I can see Chris being like, oh, but, you know, the percentages didn't line up and the matchups.
Yeah.
And it's like, no.
And then he's like,
we lost.
Yeah. And then he's like, well, you know, he tied Wilt for like all-time scoring
Right.
in a playoff game. So like, he's still an amazing player. And I'm like, no, man, like the Mavericks, freaking Tim Hardaway and Porzingis, and we got Josh Richardson not doing anything. And I'm just like going off.
Yes, you did. All right. Kristina,
Yeah.
given the current state of the market, if we were to partition our collection, our basketball card collection, according to value, it's probably 60 to 70% MJ and 30 to 40% Luka. On days like today, when I must resign myself to the fact that the Mavericks have been knocked out of the playoffs and things feel gloomy around their future right now, and we won't get to watch Luka begin his 4th season for 4 months, I'm even more grateful than usual that we collect Michael Jordan as well. And all the uncertainties surrounding Luka are not present with MJ, whose legacy is forever solidified and whose cards only become more coveted as the years roll by.
Correct.
So my question is, does collecting Michael Jordan as well bring you any solace on a day like today?
I mean, definitely, right? Like, knowing that we have the GOAT and he's our main PC definitely brings you solace, because you also have to look at him as an exemplar of what a basketball player is. And when you do that, you see that Luka's not far off.
Josh, what do you think about the value of balance in collecting across eras, collecting active as well as retired, even collecting players and teams across different sports? You collect LeBron, Anthony Hardaway, football wide receivers, among other categories you collect. Does this approach help keep things in perspective? Is there anything to be said about balance in the PC?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's a bunch of things that I can balance out. The first one is what you guys are talking about, where you have a retired player where you don't have the risks of maybe some of the financial ups and downs of it, or the emotional ups and downs of, you know, being so emotionally tied into that player's current status and, you know, their attachment to the cards. Whereas Jordan, it's purely with the cards at this point, right? You're chasing the cards, so it's good in that sense. The other is having a balance of different types of active players. Like, now that LeBron is out, I can focus on some of my football receiver collections and start looking forward to the season. And I collect Julio Jones, and he just got traded today, so I'm frantically scouring through eBay for people that are trying to capitalize on that. Like, a lot, you know, it's like, don't buy after the news, but as a collector of trying to find rare things, this is my only chance to find rare cards that come out of the woodwork, so I have to jump on those opportunities. And then the other thing is just, you know, like I said, the financial balance of it, you know, trying to mitigate your risk across different types of players. Like, you're getting the upside of Luka, but there's obviously going to be some downside here in the next, you know, week or so, just based on what's happened, and you'll get the risk mitigated and moved over to reduced by having a lot of your stuff in Jordan. So I think all of those things are good for balance.
Great points. All right, final segment for today. I'm calling this Hot Pockets in the Hobby. Jackie Robinson is first up. So if you scroll the index of players on Card Ladder, you're going to see a lot of red, which represents that over the last week and over the last month, many players' card values are trending down, but not all of them. This weekend, the 1955 Topps Jackie Robinson PSA 7 set an all-time high when it sold for a touch over $5,200 with Golden Auctions. It's up 42% since March, which is unusual because many cards have come down quite a bit from their early March peak. Contrast that card against, for example, the 1995 Finest Kevin Garnett base without coating, PSA 10, which is down 72% since early March, or the 1988 Topps Bo Jackson PSA 10. which is down 33% over the last 3 months. You can see why it is worth paying attention to cards like the 55 Topps Jackie Robinson, which are bucking the trend. Now, looking at Jackie's player index, I can see that Card Ladder currently tracks 46 Jackie Robinson cards for an aggregate market cap of $131 million. To put that into perspective, Card Ladder tracks 194 Kevin Durant cards, but their market cap is only $82 million. Jackie Robinson has less than 25% of the amount of cards that Kevin Durant does in the Card Ladder database, but Jackie Robinson's cards have a market cap that is substantially higher, so those Robinson cards represent a serious amount of cash. The most valuable one in Card Ladder's database is the 1948 Leaf Jackie Robinson PSA 9, which carries a predicted value of $1.3 million. It last sold publicly for $336,000 in 2018. Josh, why do you think cards like the 55 Topps Jackie Robinson are faring well right now, given that other pockets of the market have been trending down?
Because I think that Jackie Robinson vintage baseball is seen as, and I think it's right, one of the safest things you can do in the hobby. And right now, because people are losing money on stuff, maybe they're selling and just kind of getting out of it, and they're thinking, well, I want to reinvest, but I want to reinvest in things that are safer. I'm not a fan of this losing money concept. I'm not used to this in sports cards. What do I do? And they're like, what's the safest thing possible? And Jackie Robinson, to me, he kind of seems like one of the safest things you could possibly do. It's an older card. He was a great on-field player, but more importantly, he's probably one of the most important single athletes in sports history. If you think about what he did and what it means to the sport and everything that comes along with it, it's about as safe as it gets for an investment or whatever in sports cards. And I think those are some cool looking cards, man. Like Jackie Robinson has really sweet cards, and I'm excited to hear something like that. It's like we hear about the young rookies blowing up in value all the time. It's kind of cool to go back and see, most players are struggling, but a legend like that, and it's something that's safer, maybe a little bit more quote unquote boring in the investor crypto world or whatever that we're in today. I think it's great.
There's an appetite for boring right now, I think. That's why I like that concept. The appetite for the roller coaster ride is diminishing by the day as we all realize that roller coasters have ups and they have downs, but the boring, good old reliable looks very appealing at moments like this.
Especially since roller coasters, eventually you just get to where you started from and the ride ends and the adrenaline wears off.
Wow. There you go. All right. That will do it for episode 25 of Sports Cards Culture. See you guys next week.
Thanks for watching. Tell us in the comment section below what the crew should cover next week, and don't forget to subscribe. See you next time at SCC, Sports Cards Culture.